So, hello everybody. Welcome actually from this time, not Boston, but Leiden Bioscience Park. I'm really glad to actually start the sessions after holidays. I hope that some of you already had a great time to recover and take a rest. And today, actually, the session is about, which I already was advertising on LinkedIn, about strategically planning how to make transition from academia to industry. And this particular transition I like to draw. For some of you which are new, I think maybe I will give short introduction in a minute, but you can also watch my previous vlog. Led me to perform team collaborative based work in a way, helped me to actually navigate and help in empowering, especially at the interview. During the interview, this type of skills will be very essential to actually stand out and get a job because the competition is high. There is always a very high number of candidates for positions of especially scientific positions, but also different positions of job in industry. So I think this is really important to keep in mind before we will come to the major core, let's say, section which I'd like to discuss today, how to plan it strategically. So that's something which please keep in mind. And I highly recommend you, and I will also put it here in the comments after the session, the link to the interview, which I had recently had a pleasure to have, actually recording from Boston, from MIT campus, from Cambridge Innovation Center, located at MIT campus with Dr. Alex Cloherty, which is actually the champion of prestigious, I would say, academic competition, scientific communicating science to public, Alex Cloherty. So I'll put the link there, and it is something which we will go through still while discussing strategic planning of this transition. So now we will I'd like to actually discuss, and if you have questions, please also give them in the comments, how strategic planning should start. And I thought about this before, of course, session, and thinking how to introduce this to you, because I could write article about this, and maybe actually this session will serve also for me to write article about this and publish it on LinkedIn or in other media, social media. But definitely, I try to make it concise because this quality time, of course, the sessions are running for 1 hour to give you space to discuss the career options, alternative career options to academic careers, since only, as I introduced before, only 0.5% of all PhDs will become professors. So actually, the rest or majority has to find, and it's important to talk about this and to get well prepared and thinking about also the strategies. And I think before I was talking about all different types of possibilities outside of academia, alternative, in a way, career paths, and also bringing you some examples also from regarding other scientists. But I think it's a time to also discuss the strategy. And as I said to you, I try to think in concise way about this because I know that you also have limited time as PhD students and postdocs, because I've been there too. I perform my PhD studies here in Rotterdam at Erasmus MC, but also perform for postdocs in 3 different countries. So I exactly know how much actually time you have, and you need to manage all this time between experiments and thinking about your career. So what next after PhD, or what next after postdoc? So I would think about the first step, which is self-awareness. This is the important, I would say, strategy step, because this strategy is not just one type scenario. It consists of steps. And I think each of the steps representing strategy is important and requires preparing this and working on it. So first is to build, and what is beautifully actually called and I really like this term, self-awareness. And I hope this is visible. Let me see. I will try to bring it here. Yes, I think I will have to shift a little bit in order to make sure that everything you can see. So self-awareness. Self-awareness is important because it basically tells of who you are. It's very relevant to the question also which you will have at interview. Please tell me something about yourself, or please tell me what are your strengths, your personal strengths or weaknesses. So it's exactly about who you are, right? But it's not just about who you are, where you come from, what's your origin, but it's also about what are your core values. What are your unique, and that's something which I also do during coaching for individual PhD students and postdocs, which or people which want to move from academia to industry, so professionals, unique values or unique personal strength. Weaknesses. Remember that weaknesses, it's important to realize that weaknesses tell us that we are not just humans, but also that we have a space for improvement, to learn, and for the future employer, for future company, it will be very important to identify them and know them so that they can help you to improve basically and learn from these weaknesses. And it might be that these weaknesses will help you to generate a space for learning, for development. So I would never think about weaknesses because, of course, we want to identify always our strengths. But I think weaknesses should never be underestimated and forgotten, because they create a space for development, for learning, and they remind us that we are not perfectionists. We don't live in a, I would say, robotic society, but we are humans, right? We can make mistakes. But based on these mistakes, we can learn. So that's something which I think it's important, building self-awareness of who I am, what are my core values, where I come from. And now something which I also found important in this process is identifying what is your personal career goal or objectives. Personal goals. And this is particularly important because each of us has different type of, I call it, mission in this world. Personal mission, I think I can say it, personal and professional. And this is driven by personality, but it can also be driven by impact, income can be driven by income, so profit. I want to be a rich person, or I want to make social impact. I want to be activist. I want to contribute to collective. Very different personal missions. I want to be leader, right? I want to become emerging leader. I want to grow in leadership. So it is really something about impact and about your professional mission, which also is a part of this personal goals, because these goals will be able to accomplish this mission, this personal professional mission, whatever you call it. So I think this is something which is very important to realize, which belongs also to self-awareness, who you are, but also what do you want to do. I mean, what is your long-term vision also? That's also something which we as a scientist, as entrepreneurs, are bringing to the table when we talk to investors, or where we talk to collaborators, writing different projects. What is the impact of all this collaboration, all this science which we're going to, or innovation which we're going to develop? And this long-term vision also here, not just short-term, but also long-term, is very important. More you work on it, on this process, and writing it down, that's what I would very much recommend. And also, if you don't know, actually, I am also performing agile team building workshops to allow you to identify not only your core personal strengths, but get not only self-reflection, but team reflection, because very often we have this self-reflection, but not necessarily self-reflection is well aligned with team reflection. So other people, how they perceive you. The self-perception is very different from the team perception. And very often when I actually performing coaching one-to-one, I can see as a coach way more clearly what are the personal strengths, right? What are the key top 3 strengths of my coaches, and what are their weaknesses, and that's how we can evolve through the coaching and build this self-awareness for PhD students and postdocs, which are going to make this transition from academia to industry. This is very important in this strategy, building self-awareness, stronger and more insightful this self-awareness is. I believe strongly you will be able to make much easier transition from academia to industry. So that's the first step, I would say, or first key element of this strategy, planning, how to strategically actually plan to make this transition, because this requires plan, but this also requires steps which you need to go through. And I would advise you actually to write down everything what you know about yourself, and this can be even as a chapter. I mean, all of you are going to write at some point thesis, but this could be even a chapter about your personal self-awareness, or your self-awareness, and how much you actually learned about yourself, and learn from others, but also learn from coaches about you, or family members or friends. This is all very important information. All this, your perception, but also perception, how you are perceived by others, is very crucial here. The next important part of this, I would say, element of the strategy or step is to communicate your science. And we all the time talk about making this transition and planning it. So that also requires different activities. So communicating your science, this will be number 2. So communicating science. And this is another element which you probably already are trained in academia, communicating it to your team, to your laboratory group, to your group leader, communicating it at conferences, communicating it in written way, so in abstract way, but also communicating your science by writing publications and submitting it to the journal. So very target specific scientific academic audience. But what happens when you make transition is that when somebody asks you, and he is not scientist, at interview, very often some of interviews are performed with CEOs or managers, which are not necessarily scientists. They can be scientists. It's important to understand now how I can communicate science or my achievements, whatever I've done during my academic research, to non-experts. And again, please go to the interview. But I could only mention here that this takes a lot of time. This takes a lot of practicing, and not just practicing for yourself. You can record yourself. This is important part here, recording, but also really trying to find even volunteering opportunities to even speaking clubs, public speaking clubs. There's many nowadays, online or on site or in your city, where you can really explain what are you doing, what type of activities you do during your professional life as a scientist, and what you're particularly working on. And I've heard once somebody while I was also in Boston, when people say, it's the best is to practice it with your grandma. If grandma will understand, I think you do it well. So, well, I would not underestimate grandma knowledge and understanding and her experience and education, but I think there is something in it. There is some hint in it. About speaking first to family members, but also to your friends, which are not necessarily scientists. This will help you very much to communicate your science, your achievements during interview, but not only just for interview. I think this skill, communicating science to non-expert, is underestimated skill. I think not everybody really believes that if you communicate well, this can be your key strategy element, how you can find a well-matched job, which will be satisfying for you and will be what I also sometimes call happy job, the job that you like to do and you love it in the best scenario. So you forgot actually that you are working. Because it's your passion, it becomes your hobby, your job. But that requires a lot of work on communicating science, both I would say orally, in verbal way, in a way verbal way, but also in writing. I think you need to practice this by writing and by communicating, by presenting, right? So presentation skills, but not in terms of PowerPoint presentation, but in terms of even, so you can use PowerPoint presentation. It's also important, but also if you are able to present by using presentation, please also try to do it without, right? So you would just have 5 minutes, and if I would ask you, could you please explain your research to me, without having presentation, in 5 minutes, I think that's something which I would strongly recommend. So this is the second element of the strategy or step. And this also requires planning this process, because all this thing practices on building self-awareness, on communicating your science require practicing. So as I said, this is key element of strategy, but this is also a step. It is also a homework which you need to do, you need to practice, and you need to excel in it. Then the next step or key element of the strategy is building network. And this almost sounds like scientist entrepreneur, because in entrepreneurship, one of the important rules, Bible rules of the entrepreneurship, I would say, is network, network, and network. So building your professional network. And here I'd like to bring one thing which a lot of people don't realize. Because of Corona, there have been a lot of initiatives, and I actually met some of the collaborators during online networking events. So this has huge impact, building your online network. It's not only to ask people to join LinkedIn. That's a one part of this strategy, but also participating in online events. And this can happen in local community, but also globally. The other one is on-site or offline. And these are the events like we already talked about, BCF career event. But there are also other events which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So building your network is very important. It is helping you to understand potential career alternatives, talk to people which work in companies and they already made successful transition, because there's a lot of industrial scientists also in the business ecosystem. And also ask them for feedback. Ask them, especially when you communicate, and actually you don't need to always ask them for feedback. Sometimes actually when they meet you, they ask you, so it's nice to meet you, what are you doing? And this is your actually a space. I call it 3-minute space. Some people use more than 3 minutes. I'm using probably sometimes more, because I'm very passionate and enthusiastic about research, about stem cells, about biomaterials and collaboration, so and agility and agile methodology. But I'm also working on it to make sure that it's relatively concise. So you actually develop sort of a pitch, so personal pitch about your research, and I think that's what also. Especially when you do it in direct interaction offline, I should actually connect it. Offline can help you to actually make sure that people remember you and people get some insight about who you are as a person, but also what you do. And this is the great platform to having this space when people ask you, so it's nice to meet you, what you do. It's the best, I would say, live experimenting on your communication skills, on communicating your science, your scientific achievements to people. And if they remember this, what have you done? I mean, that's the best way you can bring your recognition, but also bring your skills, bring your impact to the community. And by doing this, in a way, create ecosystem which allows you to look for the job, not by writing, but actually by networking. And this is the best way of making transition, actually, to be invited and the result of being invited during networking for interview, or after networking being invited for interview, it can be the best result of finding not your well-met job in industry, but also make successful transition from academia to industry while networking with industrial colleagues. So that's the third element of the game, as I say. The next one, and maybe some of you already would. I actually always wonder, what are your strategies and how you make a successful transition. But the next step, which I think a lot of people don't realize that, is do research on biotech companies, or I call it biotech ecosystem. Which is composed of many biotech companies. And there's many of them. Leiden Bioscience Park is one of the hubs. We call it biotech hubs, but there is also Utrecht Science Park, Eindhoven campus. There's many more. And I think I will also maybe at the next session talk a little bit about this to give you some introduction, at least some short introduction about each of these science parks, biotech science parks in Netherlands, because there's not just one. So do research. There are many events. You can go there, participate in these 3 events, meet community. As I said, the same time you will build network. You can practice your communication in science or scientific communication, but also identify companies. You can do it top 10, top 20, top 30, depending on the ecosystem, how big it is, where you would like to work. Is this work environment something which you could consider? Yeah, this is the environment that I will be very happy to be. These are the people I want to work and interact and learn from, and also give to community. That's very important, not just to be a taker, but also giver, in mutual way, to contribute to community. And yeah, the company profiles, company profiles in each, I think Leiden Bioscience Park, I will also can give you a link there. There's actually a beautiful map of organizations, so companies which are here, and you can take a look and screen their profile and basically do research, read about them, read what is their mission, think about, check what is their team, pipelines, and so on and so on. And is this a company which my hard skills, but also work environment fits me simply? Is this a suitable place for me? So I would think about it whenever you think about transition and strategic planning. This is all the steps are important, but this is also already fourth, but very important knowledge about what type of ecosystem I'm entering, what type of people working there, what type of companies are there, what are pipelines, what are products, what they're focusing on, how big their teams is, who is the CEO, who is the business developer, and so on and so on. This will have tremendous impact on understanding ecosystem and selecting work in particular ecosystem, because they are all very different. And even when I think about CIC Innovation Center in Boston. This ecosystem compared to Leiden is way younger. Average, I think, age of is 30 years old, with 100 scientist entrepreneurs I had on the, at least, I think around, I didn't count, but around 100 on the work floor, co-working space, how it was called. And I was really, amazed that this ecosystem is so young compared to Leiden, which is way, way older in terms of age of entrepreneurs which are residing here. So this is also important. I bring this comparison from Boston because this is very striking. And I want you that you really get these differences, that there are differences. Not all these ecosystems are the same, and they're not always driven by the same type of community builders, technologies, and innovation. And investor support. So they are very different. And I think this is also something to realize, is this ecosystem which is going to grow? If this is growing, expanding ecosystem, this ecosystem definitely is going to be the one which will give you opportunity to make this transition and get a job in industry, right? Compared to ecosystems which are less growing, which there's less investments or less recognition. Still. So I think you need to think about that. Now, a little bit about these events. I think this is important for you to bring some events. I will also put them in the chat, but some of the events which I'd like to comment is definitely so networking for jobs. I will give you some which are on Leiden Bioscience Park just to highlight them so that you are able to participate. In Leiden Bioscience Park, of course, we have events, but we also have a center actually of entrepreneurship in Leiden, which is called PLNT. If you never heard about this, because I know that as an academic scientist, you not always know about all different, in a way, organizations which are here, entrepreneur organizations. And there will be actually it's called Impact. Impact-hon. So it is type of hackathon, long event, challenge for impact. It will be 23rd of, let me see, of August. So you still have a time to subscribe and join. It will be 12 hours event, but it will be an event which I will allow you to network, to talk about your science, to contribute to this competition. And maybe, you will be recognized. Maybe you will meet somebody from company which will be interested in you joining a company. So I found the hackathons really great place because even they are long. Actually, this one takes 12 hours. So it's unbelievably long, but you can stay some time there and participate. It's not that you have to stay 12 hours, but you will work first of all in the team. You will meet new people. You will meet other entrepreneurs or other scientists, and definitely this can give you really great opportunity to communicate your science, but also by participating, bring some impact and develop some innovative solutions. So I really like this type of events because this is really quality time. It's not an event which is just 1 hour, you go there, it's a lot of people, you talk to 2-3 people, and then the event, all the people are gone, and you realize, well, I came all this way to this place, and the event is so short, and there was hardly any quality time, what I call it, to really get and network, get to know more people. So I think this event is perfect for you guys to participate. The next event which I like to highlight, it's an event which will be way later this year. It will be event which is about valorization, science for patient innovation. This event will take place, it's a free event. It will take place 23rd October. I will also give you details later on. And it will take place this time not in Leiden, but in Utrecht. It will be event from 2:30 till 6 p.m. So I think this is also sufficient good investment to come and interact. And it will be event which I really like because it's an event organized together with within community enriched medicine tissue engineering. So especially all PhDs, postdocs, and PhD students and postdocs which are in this field. I think it's great for you guys, especially for you guys, but not necessary to join, because what it will be discussed there is actually the transition from researcher to entrepreneur. So something which we definitely now discussing during this session. We talk about transition, about strategic planning, about strategic steps. And I think this is not irrelevant of discipline. This is really good event to join and learn about not only how to stimulate valorization, create real world impact for patients in terms of developing innovation for patients, but also meeting people. And I was really glad that there will be many people which are valorization directors. They are CEOs also of therapeutics companies. There are also startups present there. There are academic professors like Professor Peter Rietsma, which is Professor Emeritus at LUMC, and Bernard Mulder, which is General Director of RexMed XP. But there will be many more. And I think this event is worth, because the topic, the transition from researcher to entrepreneur, will be also discussed. And the next event, which I'd like to discuss, I forgot actually to bring it earlier chronologically, but it is Life Science Cafe in Leiden Bioscience Park. And Leiden Bioscience Cafe will be 19th September from 4 p.m. till 6:30. So if you live in Leiden, are you studying or Leiden University or Leiden University Medical Center, I think it's a great place in Grand Café de Stael. This event is actually organized for entrepreneurs, educators, academic scientists, government officials, and community members, all focus on life sciences and health. So this is a great opportunity to network, form connections, but also, again, look for job. And this is something which I think it's local, and I've been on many of this Life Science Cafe events, and they are very informal. So this also gives you opportunity to ask for the job, to pitch for the job, to ask people where you can or who can help you, right? So connecting dots process. The next event, BCF event, it's the biggest event organized by Hyphen Projects, which I already talked before about many, many times. Upcoming one is for those which are in Belgium or are living close to Belgium at the border. There will be BCF career event organized 28th of November. And this will be done in hand. So I also moved to Belgium, to Leuven, when I performed my postdoc project. So I think Belgium ecosystem, because of neighborhood within or and Luxembourg, I think Luxembourg, Belgium, and Holland, as a part of Benelux, are also important for us in terms of searching for potential careers in Belgium and move to Belgium. I live there. This is very nice country, very nice people to work with. So I recommend that. Don't be afraid also to, in that case, to move, right, for the job. I mean, that's what I also did for my academic job. I moved to Belgium, to other country, to pursue this project. So being even academic scientist and applying for academic jobs. So for industry, which offers you permanent position or better packages, I think that even more actually worth it, definitely worth it. So this is about Belgium. And I also thought for people, I have also coaches which are Dutch, not only internationals or multinationals, but also Dutch. And I thought, if you are Dutch or you foreigner, but you invest in Dutch language, so you speak Dutch, because that what makes sense to participate in this Dutch speaking events. There is also event which is actually unconventional, which you probably would not think about, but I thought, since you look for the job in this transition from academia to industry, I think it's important to realize that participating. I see some comments, but I think they will be completely disconnected or actually removed because they are not relevant to our career session. So please remove all these comments before I'm going to do that, or notify it to YouTube. I wouldn't like to have these comments in the chat. So what is also one of the important events, since you are guys, PhD students and postdocs, is to also join Dutch-speaking events. The ones which I mentioned are in English-speaking events, and join actually events, especially when you look for a grant writer position in industry. And there is many companies which are focusing on grant writing. This can be important option. The event which is organized, and I will also give you a link before, but it's organized 16th of October. And this event, it's called Dag van de Subsidie Professional. Van de Subsidie Professional. So this is the event that you will meet people which are applying for subsidies, people which looking for companies, but also it's an event which will allow you also to orientate and orientate especially about job opportunities regarding grant writer position. So these are the events which I'd like to tell about. And what comes to the last final element of strategy, how to strategically plan your career, is keep pitching. It's the last step. Obvious step, which I already mentioned before, talking about how you communicate science to non-expert. Keep pitching. So you can use your cover letters, especially why you good candidate. Why are you good candidate? Good candidate. Suitable for the job function. And I think this should be done in very short 3 minutes form, not longer, so that you are able to explain it during networking. If somebody asks you, oh, you look for the job, well, we have position. Why you think you would be good candidates? So this way you can be prepared. And I think this type of communicating in form of pitching is very vital these times nowadays, because, well, people which you meet during networking, even applying for a job, they don't have so much time to talk to you or give you a space. So I think presenting yourself in short form, in short time, it's incredible skill, which is also underestimated. So that's something which I think I'd like to speak about and discuss, because I understand that there are different strategies, and you guys have maybe different experiences. But for the ones which don't know how to start, how to develop such a strategy, how to strategically plan things, and which kind of key steps and stages or elements of this strategy are important to consider, I think these are the ones which you definitely should include in your planning, in your strategical planning. So I think with this, I would like to thank you for listening. And I would like to also remind you that these sessions, especially for people which are joining, will be joining me or will be listening overseas. I will also have a next session about ecosystems, to discuss ecosystems in Netherlands. During these live sessions, especially those which are not so familiar how to find information about different biotech or science parks in Netherlands, I think this can be very useful information. So I will present it. And these sessions are done, as I said, once a month for PhD students and postdocs. And for you guys which think, well, I don't have so much time, I need to build my awareness very quick, self-awareness, and start transitioning, because you always have to remember that the time is a limiting factor. So a common mistake is that you start doing it too late. So that's why this requires planning. That's why planning is also there. There need to be included planning in effective transition from academia to industry. So the time is limiting factor. Later you start, you have fourth year of your PhD or fifth year, you have to write thesis, you have to apply for jobs, you have to prepare yourself, finish all your experiments, and so on and so on. There is hardly any time actually to plan anything for transition. So earlier you start as a PhD student, I think you will be more and more successful in this transition. See you next time. Bye.